Good evening, everybody. This is Casper from the Tropical Weather Threat Society, bringing you our nightly update regarding the tropics. And as of today, we have Tropical Storm Erin out in the eastern Atlantic. Invest 97L is now a named system. So we will be hoping that we get a little bit of better model clarity starting with the 0Z run tonight. Granted, some models will run. We'll get the 18Z runs on a solid center. But we really need the 0Z runs to kind of get out into the long range. The GFS will go, no, excuse me, the GFS will go out into the long range for the 18Z, but the Euro will not. So that's what we're waiting on, is just to be able to see. And unfortunately, it'll be the 0Z runs that'll come in during the overnight hours. That will be what will hopefully give us our first good set of model suites to kind of potentially pinpoint this thing. Because we're still got some concerns, no doubt about it. So let's go ahead and jump on in. As we can see here, I've got the mesoscale loop turned on here over the last 90 minutes, and since the sun has gone down, we do see some flaring up of the shower and thunderstorm activity associated with Erin. So we are expecting this to continue through the overnight hours through its diurnal minimum cycle. If we take a look at the outlook, we'll come back to this in a couple minutes. This is a little crazy. And the National Hurricane Center had to put this spot because everybody kept asking about it in the Gulf of Mexico. So they just finally decided to tell everybody, look, there's a 0% chance of this developing into a tropical cyclone. We'll highlight it and it'll disappear tomorrow. So, yeah, it's been causing a lot of cloud cover and shower and thunderstorm activity here along the northern Gulf Coast today, but otherwise than that, non-tropical in nature. We also have two other disturbances. Both, this is former Invest 96L, still Invest 96L, but it's nothing what it was when it got it in its Invest tag. Both of these areas up here into the subtropical Atlantic are at 10% overall. And then, of course, we have Erin. Erin's going to be the top story. So let's dive into it. As we can see with the experimental cone, this is an interactive map. It allows us to kind of zoom in and move around. As you can see, the forecast cone, a little bit of a southerly dip like we had been mentioning here when it gets in and around the 40-degree west mark. So that was confirmed by the National Hurricane Center's tracks for the 11 a.m. and the 5 p.m. primary advisory. Then we start to get on the other side of the high pressure that will be to the north. I will show you guys that here shortly. And then we start to kind of incur a more west-northwest track at this point. Although we do have the cone outside of the areas associated here with the islands, the proximity of the center, the cone is only representative of the center. The proximity of the center of the circulation, if it runs the south side of this cone, could bring indirect impacts for the folks down here into the islands. So please make sure that you are monitoring the forecast as the updates come out. It would be, as you could see, potential impact time somewhere in and around the time on Friday. So just make sure, keep a very close watch on it. We've got key messages already being issued for this, and it is way out into the tropical Atlantic. And the reason for the key messages, it is still too early to determine what impacts, if any, Erin may bring to the northern Leeward Islands, Bermuda, or the east coast of the United States. I would like to include the Bahamas in there as well. As we approach the climatological peak of the hurricane season, it is an opportune time to ensure your preparedness plans are in place. And that's exactly what I could not agree with this any more than I do now. Now's the time to make sure that your hurricane preparedness kits are ready to go, because it only takes one storm. So let's get down into the particulars. As of the 5 p.m. advisory, we are currently located with Tropical Storm Erin at 17.4 north, 30.3 west, about 430 miles west northwest of the Cabo Verde Islands. And I do have some unfortunate news to report out of the Cabo Verde Islands. And about 2,155 miles east of the northern Leeward Islands. So we still got a long way to go, folks. Maximum sustained winds of 45 miles an hour, moving west or 270 degrees at 21 miles an hour. This heading is going to be critical over the next 48 hours. We want to see 270. We do not want to see very many numbers lower than 270. We really, anything below 270 adds a slight southern component, and then we start losing latitude. We don't want to lose latitude, so we would like to see this number at 270 degrees throughout its passage over the next 48 hours. I don't think that's going to be the case, so we're going to have to really keep an eye on this number and to see if the models trend a little bit further south depending on where Erin is located. So right now there are no coastal watches or warnings in effect, and there are no hazards affecting land. But if we come to the discussion now, I'm not going to go through and I'm not going to read this whole thing to everybody, but the one thing that I do want to highlight is that they do have Erin becoming a major hurricane in 5 days at 115 miles an hour. That would make it a Category 3. So there are some things that do need to be discussed. So the one thing that I am going to discuss is this final paragraph here in the forecaster's discussion. As mentioned in the prior advisory, while vertical wind shear over Erin is forecast to remain low for the next 3 to 4 days, the thermodynamic environment is less favorable in the short term, with sea surface temperatures between 26 and 27 degrees Celsius and plenty of stable stratocumulus clouds along the forecast path of the storm. Nonetheless, most of the hurricane regional models show Erin slowly intensifying during this period. As the storm moves into warmer sea surface temperatures after 48 hours, a faster rate of intensification is anticipated, as long as the shear remains low, and if they've got it's Erin, if Erin is able to mix out some of the dry air in its vicinity. The intensity guidance is actually a little higher than the previous cycle beyond 60 hours, but the latest NHC intensity forecast is similar to the prior one, showing Erin becoming a hurricane in 60 hours and a major hurricane in 120 hours. This forecast is now a little lower than the halves HB or halves AB, HMON, and HWRF at the end of the forecast. There are some indications there might be some northwesterly shear impinging on the cyclone in the 96 to 120 hour time frame. So I elected to stay under these aids for this cycle. And this would have been Dr. Papin that wrote this. So you can pretty much, it's very credible at that point. And really anybody that writes it up for the National Hurricane Center, they've been vetted for quite some time. So we're going to have to watch for that. Now, the earliest reasonable arrival time of tropical storm force winds, this graphic should be solely used for preparation. You would like to have all of your preparation done prior to the earliest reasonable arrival time of tropical storm force winds. Our most likely arrival time would be a lot later, but if you can have all of your preparations completed by the earliest reasonable arrival time, then you should not have any issues of the tropical storm force winds impacting your preparation, especially with your outdoor things like putting up, say, if you're putting up a piece of plywood over a window. Trying to drag that piece of plywood around in 40-mile-an-hour wind might not be the best idea. You may want to do that prior to those 40-mile-an-hour winds arriving. So, our tropical storm force wind speed probabilities. Now, this right here, we look at this graphic to see if we may incur some tropical storm watches or warnings for anybody regarding wind speed. Right now, for the northern Leeward Islands, we're currently running at about a 5 to 10% chance of seeing sustained tropical storm force winds. So, right now we're in the little area, but it's not a lot. It's just 5 to 10. Usually they get it up to about somewhere in the range of about 30 before watches will start to be issued. So we got a little bit of room to play with, but not a lot. And it's a little bit uncomfortable. So taking a look here from Tropical Tidbits and a little bit more of a zoomed in look, more of a centralized look here at Erin, we could tell that flare up of strong thunderstorm activity is definitely in and around the center of circulation here. And just from best guess estimates is that the center of circulation, the low level center, may be just to the west of where this convection is located along the low level areas there. Now, I pulled this up also from Tropical Tidbits just to kind of show everybody the thermodynamic environment. What we're looking at is the water temperatures eventually getting a lot warmer once we get it on the other side of 50 degrees west. Okay, so we definitely, anything in the yellow is supportive of a tropical cyclone. Obviously, the darker the color, the more supportive or, potentially an intensification will take place. Now, as we can see right now, it is in not the best environment, marginal sea surface temperatures, but as this thing continues to continue off to the west, we're going to get it in increasingly warmer and warmer waters. And if you just take a look at what it's going to run into out here as it hopefully pulls north of the islands here and gets out into the western portions of the Atlantic, this water temperature is bathwater. So, yeah, we know with low shear environment and everything that we know what we're going to get when we get it out there, folks. So here we go. So using some of the products that we have from the University of Wisconsin and everybody else, now that we have a named system. Right now we've got a low shear, 10 knots, but this was over 3 hours ago. What we are looking at from the Dorvac technique and the AI assisted Dorvac, we're at 41 knots. So 41 knots, 45 miles an hour, we're right on point. We're right there. So as long as this stays where we're at and doesn't start, increasing dramatically, we're good. I don't expect to see any type of rapid intensification with this over the next 48 hours for sure. Let me pull that up. As you can see with Erin, we don't have a lot for rapid intensification potentials. Now, we'll visit this again in about 96 hours. About 72 hours. I would imagine that these numbers are going to be a lot different than what we're looking at now. I don't think we're going to see much blue. And that's low numbers. As far as the Saharan air layer goes, I'm going to pull this up because I will show the models, but this is from the University of Wisconsin. We have Erin located right here. And if you look at all of this dust that is out in front of Erin, Erin has to plow through this. So what influential factors can it, impose on Erin? I will say this: we don't want it to be too weak, too long. All right, because then that means it has a higher chance of sliding west, and we don't want to see that. Now, before I jump into Earth Null, now that we have a name system, we can use the University of Albany's information here. And the one thing that I really want to highlight is the consensus models. Now, the consensus models, when we look at these graphics, the darker graphic is the new one. As we get older in time, the lines get lighter. If you'll notice, we have a trend for the consensus to the south and to the west. Now, that's not saying that there's going to be any type of impact. I'm just saying trends from the consensus have been a little bit south and a little bit west, especially with the TVCN. Well, we get two consensus models this year on this website, and if we take a look at the HCCA to compare the two, they both show trends a little bit to the south and a little bit to the west. So it is something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. Now, as far as intensity goes, the consensus for the IVCN is just under Category 4 strength. The consensus for the HCCA aid is Category 2, but then at the end of the period is still beginning to increase again. So it's this one's going to have to be one to be watched. Now, the H-Wharf, as you can see, the H-Wharf was much further up. Everything is trending into a specific direction. It's not, like, oh Lord, Armageddon yet, but it's just something that we'll have to watch. The intensity for H-Wharf brings it to a Category 3. The H-Mon has been kind of trending back the other direction and holding somewhat steady over the last couple runs, and the H-Mon brings it up to a Category 3. Halves A. Now, Halves A's been running. There hasn't been a lot of deviation from one run to another. Maybe a little bit of a southerly track. Please keep in mind that Halves A only runs out 126 hours, so it does not go out the 168 hours like some of the other models do. This only goes 5 days and 6 hours. But as we could see, it is 20. Reaches 20 before it gets to 60. A little bit too close for my liking for the folks out down here in the islands. And the reason being is because Halves A wants to bring this well into Category 4 status. Halves B, very similar location to Halves A. If we come back, Halves A is maybe just a tick faster. But Halves B, intensity-wise, Category 4 as well. So a lot of these things are really ramping up to show the intensity. Now, the official forecast, we have only had 2 primary advisories issued from the National Hurricane Center, so we can't have much for trends. Tomorrow, this will be filled with lines. But the intensity, right now, we're calling for Category 3, but please keep in mind that the National Hurricane Center forecast, official forecast, only goes out 5 days. So, please keep that in mind, folks. Now, real quick with Earth Null this evening. I'm not going to go through a whole big thing with Earth Null, but one thing that I do want to show everybody is that we do have our trusty green circle down here into the approximate location of Erin. And we're at the surface. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this up to the 700 millibar level, which is approximately 2 miles above the ocean surface. And we're going to run this. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this forward. This is on the GFS solution, but I want to show everybody how this high pressure and everything is going to kind of play into this, because the 700 millibar level really shows kind of what I would like for everybody to see. So now we've come forward 24 hours Let's get rid of all of our old drawings there. We have Erin located right here. We have our high pressure, as you could see, running all the way around like this. That's the conform of our high. All right, now, as we continue to run this forward, we've got a little bit of a low pressure here. This is going to this is going to play a factor as we go forward. And we have another developing low pressure out here as well. So let me erase that and we'll run this forward another 24 hours. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to go and we're going to take a look. Now we've got our high here. All right, we've got somewhat of a high pressure here, but this is going away. It's not a lot. It's when I say high pressure, it's really not a lot at all. It's very extraordinarily weak. And then we've got our low here, and then we've got our other low that is exiting off this way. Now, what that has done, as you can see, we've kind of got this troughing feature digging in, and it's helping to keep this western edge of this high pressure pinned back. That's what we want to see. Now, we're going to hope that that's what the forecast models are going to continue to show as we go forward. But keep in mind, I had our trusty green circle out here. If I put our trusty green circle here, we may lose latitude. We may lose a little bit, maybe 1/10 or 2/10 of a degree, maybe even 3/10 of a degree. I hope we don't get below 17. We're currently at 17.4 now. So 1, 2, 3. Now that we've gotten through and we are now, getting Erin into the western part of the tropical Atlantic, you will now start to notice that we've got a little bit of wind flow right here. All right, we're starting to see that quote unquote door or window opening. Now, I'm going to erase this and we're going to go forward one more set of 24 hours. Now, there is a wave of energy right here. This wave of energy has induced a trough right here. The high pressure is here with a weakness right there. This is what the models are calling on. Now, keep in mind, we're 2 miles above the ocean surface. I'm going to flip this over to 6 miles above the ocean surface. Now, they were talking about maybe a little bit of northwesterly shear, and as you could see, associated with that trough feature, there could be just a little bit of northwesterly shear coming in and impinging on Erin. Maybe. So we'll have to, again, long range, we really want things to kind of, now that we've got a center of circulation, we want things to kind of run now with, now that we have a solid center and see what the models have to say. So we're really looking forward to tomorrow's runs or the 0Z. Taking a look at today's ensembles. Now, this was 12Z Euro. Now, keep in mind that the 12Z is 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Erin was named at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That would have been 15Z, not 12Z. So, the ensembles themselves were still trying to guess, had a better idea, but still trying to guess exactly where this was going to form and develop. So, there is still some uncertainty in the very beginning part of this as the model itself was being predictive for development. Now, as we could see though, as we run it out all the way out to 10 days, we still have a small threat for the eastern coast of the United States. This is from the regular Euro, the legacy Euro ensembles. The bulk of the tracks, the bulk of the probability is well off to the east of the United States and could potentially threaten Bermuda. Folks in Bermuda, you guys need to really, really watch this as we get going forward here, like big time. Really, really keep a very close eye on this one. Because I would not be surprised if we end up with watches or warnings for the island of Bermuda in about 5 days. I would not be surprised. If we compare the regular legacy Euro to the Europeans' AI model and just kind of flip it back and forth, the AI, the bulk of the AI guidance is just slightly to the west of the bulk of the legacy guidance. As you could see, just slightly to the west, with a little bit more of a camp that could potentially threaten coastal Carolina area here into the mid-Atlantic. It's something that we'll have to watch. It's certainly not set in stone. But as far as the AI is concerned and driving these off potentially to the Florida Peninsula, those ensembles have shifted to the east. So we could get away with the Florida issue. Those risks and threats have trended a little bit lower today. As far as the GEFS is concerned, though, we brought them back. As you can see, the GEFS has two well-distinct camps. We can erase that. We have our one camp here, which is the bulk of the probability. And then we have one more camp here, which is a lower end part of the probability. But again, seeing this means that the risk for the Florida Peninsula is not, fortunately, and even in the Bahamas, I got some bad news. You will have to keep continuing to monitor this system until we get a little bit more of a certainty in the track. I can tell you that when we get to about day 5, day 6, that's when the uncertainty increases dramatically with the forecast. Now, when we get our 0Z runs, maybe that uncertainty goes down a little bit. We'll see. So what I've got here is the Google DeepMind model, and I've turned on the wind speed colors so everybody can see what we're looking at as far as the wind speeds are concerned. I am going to shut the wind speeds off because one thing that I do want to do is I want to bring this forward to the 5-day, exactly 120 hours out from now. And then we're going to pull our ensemble runs. And I would like to highlight that, yes, even with the Google DeepMind, there is a secondary camp with the bulk of the probability staying well offshore of the United States. But there is just enough to where it's like, we got to keep a watch on it. We still got to keep a watch on it. I mean, that's enough. I mean, we're looking at, let me get rid of that because that is not going to zoom with me. We've got what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're looking at maybe a 20% chance, at least from the 12Z Google DeepMind. Now, that's going to change, folks. It's going to change. So it's just enough to where I couldn't agree more, and I will come back again to highlight the key messages from the National Hurricane Center saying, hey, as we're getting to the peak of the climatological peak of hurricane season, now's the time to make sure that your hurricane kits and your preparedness plans are taken care of, because here we go, folks. Now, looking at the dust, we have Erin. As far as the 0Z, this is when this dust model ran. Erin was over the Cabo Verde Islands at this point in time. And if we run this forward, you can see that that is a lot of dust that Erin is going to have to go through. And then on top of that, will be trailing the storm also. So as you could see, even the dust model wants to, eventually keep it well north of the islands there. The dust model is not meant for tropical cyclones, but as you could see, still you can kind of define a little bit of a low pressure center there, and the dust is not much of a factor after we get past the islands. So it's just something that, like we'll take what we can get with it right now, but again, we don't want it too weak too long, because if it does stay too weak too long, then we get a completely different result. And that result will show up here on this upper right hand graphic with the Euro AI. That weak result will show right here. What this is the 500 millibar height, and where our high pressure, or 500 millibar high pressure, low pressure, where those entities are anticipated to be. So I'm going to run this forward now. We have the Euro on the left, the legacy Euro, the Euro AI on the upper right, and then the GFS in the lower left. So as I run this forward, you will notice that the Euro and the GFS both develop this. When we get out to 96 hours, we can definitely see we have the blip right here associated with Erin. We come down to the GFS and we can confirm that they're almost in identical locations, which gives a little bit of credence to some of the global models. But if you look here on the AI, we don't have anything. And watch what happens. So I'll bring it out to 120 hours. We've got well-developed system here, Euro legacy, well-developed system, GFS legacy. Again, we don't have anything on the Euro AI. Now, if I run this forward to day 6, now we're starting to get signal with the Euro AI. But look at where it is. It is between just north of the western portions of Puerto Rico and the eastern portions of the Dominican Republic. And it is starting to approach the Turks and Caicos out there in the very extreme southeastern portion of the Bahama chain. So, but if we look here on the Euro, the legacy, the circulation is still to the east of Puerto Rico and well north of the islands. So the big difference, if it stays a little bit too weak, a little bit too long, because now by the time I get to day 7, we're out here potentially running a threat on both the Euro and the GFS legacies to Bermuda. But if you look at the Euro AI, this thing is starting to pound into the southeastern portions of the Bahamas. And if I bring it forward even further to day 8, we're getting it right just to the east of the Bahamas. And then if we get into day 9, look how close it is to the east coast of the United States. Now, at this point, we would definitely see indirect impacts. Now, I'll take it out to day 10. We do not have landfall, okay? But that is way too close for comfort, folks. So we're going to have, again, we need it to develop some and stay somewhat developed with a decent low pressure as it tracks across the tropical Atlantic and begins its approach towards, say, 50 degrees west, 60 degrees west. We want to see this above 20 degrees north before it gets to 60 degrees west. That will help save the folks there in the Leeward Islands and the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and all surrounding areas. After that, we need it to start to gain latitude very, very quickly at that point, because it only has, by the time that you reach 75 degrees west, now you're starting to deal with potential land interactions with the United States. So, taking a quick look at the shear, we've got the euro on the left and the GFS on the right. And the shear is not going to be much of a factor as we are coming across the main development region of the tropical Atlantic. It's just not. Then, when we start to impinge that trough, as you can see, both of the global models are calling for that trough to kind of come down and leave the weakness in the high. But then at that point, do we get a little bit of extra shear on it? We'll have to wait and see. I mean, the GFS says maybe, the Euro says maybe, but if it's off just a little bit to the left of where that maybe is, then it's going to end up probably being more of a ventilator and not necessarily a negative influence. Could end up being a more positive influence, as you could see kind of in this setup with the GFS here, where we have the center of circulation south of a jet streak associated with the trough. And a low pressure area up here into eastern portions of Canada. This would help evacuate a lot of the air over the top of the storm and exhaust and kind of ventilate it. And I would not be surprised to see a bout of steady intensification when we get up and start interacting with this if it phases correctly. Okay, now our MJO forecast here real quick. As you can see, we didn't really move much. We've kind of dove back down into the circle, which that wouldn't hurt my feelings. We've got the forecast of it amplifying quite a bit over the African mainland and getting out into the Indian Ocean. So we'll have to wait and see exactly how that moves along. We will get a new graphic with this tomorrow. So this is the Global Tropics Hazards Outlook. We will get a new graphic tomorrow afternoon. This will be discussed tomorrow night in the live. Okay, now we're going to keep showing this day after day after day. We still have all this to go, folks. So peak season is still yet to come. Where we're at right about now as far as the activity of the basin goes is approximately on this purple line. We still have all this to go. Peak season, climatological peak season isn't until we get to second week of September. So our origin points, as we could see, we had Erin today. Erin formed out here. But as you could see, we've had plenty of stuff well in that area. So it is not, while it is not as common as this part of the basin, it's not unheard of either. It's not an unprecedented event for it to develop out this far to the east, especially this time of year. And as you can see, when we get from the 21st to the 31st of August, we can get it pretty much anywhere at that point in time. And I promise you, the graphics after this are even worse. So as we continue to go through our live stream coverage and we get to about the 17th of August, I will flip this from 11 to 20. We will put this graphic as the first one, and then I will take this one and bring it into September. And the numbers get crazy at that point in time. They really do. So, all right, jumping out to the Eastern Pacific, we really don't have much to discuss out here in the Eastern Pacific. We have no outlook for the Eastern Pacific. And post-tropical storm Evo, as you can see here, moved off into those cooler waters, moved into that more stable atmospheric environment, and has pretty much lost all of its tropical convection associated with the storm. And the final advisory was issued on Evo at the 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time advisory. But that doesn't mean that we don't have Henriette, because Henriette is still out there, turning like a zombie. And as you can see, the forecast track, we don't see even Hawaii in this anymore. As you can see, well north of Hawaii, out here literally in the middle of nowhere. And that's what we're doing. As we can see here on the visible satellite loop, it is a very small, compact system, still holding steady and starting to approach that troughing feature that should eventually cause its demise as we go forward. So the particulars on Henriette here is located at 29.8 north, 157.8 west, 585 miles north of Honolulu, Hawaii, with a maximum sustained winds of 85 miles an hour. Moving northwest at 18 miles an hour with a minimum central pressure of 986 millibars. No coastal watches or warnings in effect, and no hazards affecting land. And it looks like it should stay that way. As far as the forecaster's discussion goes, we are anticipating it to become post-tropical in 60 hours. So that will be... No, Sammy, don't you start with me. Don't you start with me. No, I do not want to put out Alaskan forecasts for tropical systems. Y'all better not. You better not. So it is, we can see remnant low in 72 hours. No, Jonathan, he does not. He does not want to put out tropical forecasts for Alaska. No, he doesn't. I promise. No, he doesn't. I need to get Erin's... We need to get the tab up here. Oh, she didn't drag. Okay. Did we show it? No, we didn't show it. So here's the spaghetti plots on Erin. I'm bad boy. I'm going to go sit in the corner after the live. And if we take a look, all of these wind speeds right here, these are in knots. That was a terrible square. Now we'll get rid of that thing because, of course, I had to put everything in the way. All of these are wind speeds in knots, and then these are the models themselves. So I will erase that so everybody can see. That is 130 knots. Halves A and B, we're looking at almost Cat 4, HMON and H-Wharf. We're up there, folks, and the NHC current is 100 knots. All right. No. Y'all better not. I'm serious. Y'all better leave me alone with the Alaskan forecast. I am not into forecasting tropical systems for Alaska. As you can see, it's going to come up here, and it's going to take a right, and it could potentially flip in along itself and stay out here into the open waters and never get up towards the Aleutian Island chain. So, no. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to start this, folks. We're not. It's just, it's way too early in the year to, really, it's way too early in any year to be talking about tropical cyclone issues for Alaska. I could see a post-tropical cyclone coming from the Western Pacific coming up and through. That has occurred many a times before. But driving something up from the Central Pacific, no. We're getting completely carried away at this point. You can check your local National Weather Service office there, Jonathan. You can find it at weather.gov and any search engine. Yeah, please feel free. Tell your friend. Weather.gov. So, jumping out here. Yeah. But Iceland, I mean, Amanda, that's a thing. That occurs. That you get it at least to come from the southwest, coming to the northeast. Coming from the south to the north, that's where things get a little different. So anyway, out here, Typhoon Padul, and as we can see here, it has reached typhoon status. That means it's Category 1 hurricane. Still forecast to intensify, and now potentially missing the southern portion of the Japanese islands and driving into the southern portion of the island of Taiwan, then continuing on to rain itself out over the mainland of China. I do know that the southern part of Taiwan does not want another one. They already had one earlier this year and an impact. For the folks out there in the Leeward Islands and Bermuda and wherever, anywhere in the Atlantic Basin, If you come to the database tied to the page itself and you click on North America, there you go. Everything that you would need for the Atlantic Basin, other than the Cabo Verde Islands, which is in the African tab, but we're already past that. Now, unfortunately, I do have some bad news to report. There has been localized reports that we have 6 fatalities in the Cabo Verde Islands from Erin, with still people missing. So, unfortunately, we have potentially already incurred loss of life to this. So we do not want to see any more loss of life. So one thing that I am going to let everybody know is that when this storm, we're going to run this all the way out to its absolute end degree here. And as you can see on Earth Null, it gets very powerful through the GFS. But the one thing that I want to show is the wave action. This is going to start generating a lot of very, very strong and tall waves. All these waves will eventually reach the east coast of the United States and any Atlantic-facing beach. Please, folks, watch for rip currents as we get into this upcoming weekend, into the following week. We've already had statistics. We don't need more. So, all right, everybody, I'm going to check here. See if we got any questions. They are going to name a typhoon Duck. Okay, well, maybe. A Hurricane Ducky. Well, who knows? He might end up being, getting a little bit more of his, new feathers later on this year. All right, everybody. I don't see any questions there. Okay. All right, Bubba. Yeah, we will. I'll be here regardless. I'm here every night, 6 p.m. Until Halloween. So every single night. I don't care what's out there. No development percentages, no name storm. We don't care. We will be live every single night, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, here on Facebook and YouTube until at least Halloween. Every single night. And, oh, hi, Betty. You're very welcome, ma'am. And with that, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and sign off for tonight. We will be back tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, with the latest and hopefully a little bit more clarity on these models now that we have a solid center of circulation there. So we'll talk to y'all tomorrow night and see what we got. All right, everybody, stay safe. Good night.